Welcome in. Today we are talking about a piece of history that has been saved in St. Augustine. Hi there, I'm Jessica Clark. I'm here with historian David Nolan. We're talking about Zora Neale Hurston and the house where she lived in St. Augustine for a short period of time and what has happened to it in the last 2 years. So David, I wanted to bring you in because you really were part of this conversation 2 years ago. But let's start even at a more elementary level than that. Who is Zora Neale Hurston? Some folks don't know the happiness of knowing Zora Neale Hurston and her books.
Zora Neale Hurston is one of those rare authors who's become better known after she died than she was in her lifetime. When she lived, she was the most published black woman author in America, and that was good. But when she died in 1960 in the poorhouse in Fort Pierce, Florida, and was buried in a pauper's grave, all her books were out of print. She was almost forgotten. And yet, a book that was published 60 years after her death shot up to the New York Times bestseller list. That never happens. You know, it happened for Mark Twain, but almost no other author. So this is an indication of the great rediscovery of Zora Neale Hurston. And there are people now who are arguing that her famous novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God, may actually be the great American novel.
I have heard this mentioned. It is such an interesting book. She really was able to focus in on black culture and folklore in the American South as well as in the Caribbean. But she did have time in St. Augustine as well as in Jacksonville. She went to school in Jacksonville, right?
Yes, she went to what later became Florida Memorial College in St. Augustine. She went there when it was a lower grade school in Jacksonville. She
was there as a student?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And fell in love with the president, who then moved to St. Augustine. And the president had a vice president, a woman who was very careful that he not get too close to other women. So it was an interesting dynamic there. But Zora came to St. Augustine many times in her life. She was married there in 1927.
Oh, 1927. Okay, she was married there. And then she, for a period of time, lived at a house on West King Street. 791 West King Street is the reason we're here today. Tell us about this place where she lived.
Well, it came at a very special time in her life because she had just written her autobiography called Dust Tracks on a Road, which was the best received book of her lifetime. But it came out, she finished it in 1941. And she said some kind things about the Japanese people and some critical things about President Roosevelt. And then on December 7th, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and her publisher, who had the manuscript, said, "This won't go, you have to revise this." And that's what she did in St. Augustine, in this house where you can now stay, the only Zora Neale Hurston house. You can live, you can rent and stay in for a time.
Absolutely, but that's now. 2 years ago, the future of this house at 791 West King Street was in limbo.
I was getting an ulcer over it. It had a bulging wall on the side. Miss Johnny Pasco, who lived there, was 100 years old, and she had guarded that house fiercely for 30 years. But once she died, the question was somebody just going to get it and bulldoze it and put something else there? And so I am so grateful to the people who stepped in and saved it. They'll always be on my list of heroes.
So in 2023, it was for sale. Various historians like yourself and also even the St. Johns County leaders had thought, well, should we buy this place? But money was an option.
Money always is a problem. Historians never have enough money to do all they'd like to do.
And this one would have taken a lot of work.
Yes.
Because it was in pretty bad shape, as you mentioned, the walls bulging out and whatnot. And she lived there for a short period of time, Zora Neale Hurston, just the summertime.
Right, it was a short period of time, but a very critical time in her life. She had come there and she was teaching summer school at what was then called Florida Normal College. Our first college in St. Augustine was a black college west of town, which had moved there from Jacksonville in 1918. And so she taught there. But Zora Neale Hurston, as you can tell from reading her, she has this wonderful command of language. She wrote to her second husband and said, "I never want to see you again unless you're in your coffin." Oh. You know, so wherever she went, she ran into people who didn't want to hear this.
Oh, yes.
And one of them was the president of the college, whom she called an insignificant pipsqueak.
Oh, no.
So her tenure there was very brief.
That was her boss, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. So then, as we mentioned, in 2023 it's for sale. And various people were talking about what's going to happen to it. And it was purchased.
Yes.
It was purchased by the realtor and his wife. And I think that surprised, I know it surprised me when I was
And we
covering
still
it.
worried. We said, uh-oh, do they just see it as a piece of real estate that maybe they could make more money by turning it into a parking lot or a gas station or a fast food joint?
Right, yeah. But that didn't happen.
That didn't. They were the right people to buy it.
2 years later, we now know that a couple by the name of Lavardis and Dwala Anderson purchased it and have restored it and have turned the top part into a short-term rental and the bottom part into a museum.
Right.
As a historian, this just must be gold.
It is so wonderful, you know, and I wonder if, you know, someday people who teach, because Zora Neale Hurston's books are taught in high schools and colleges around the country, if some of those people who teach that would like to stay there and kind of absorb the Zora atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a unique treasure to add to St. Augustine.
Yeah, so there are bedrooms upstairs. You and I went through it just a few days ago. The bedrooms are lovely. And as I was up there, I was trying to feel the Zora vibe. I don't know, what do you think of that now?
I'm a great believer in that. You know, I mean, I've spent half a century examining all the old houses of St. Augustine, and I believe in getting up close and physical with them. You know, I knock on the walls and shake the doors and things, because it's, you know, I'm not a believer in ghost tours or anything like that, but I do believe that if you're in the place and you look and you say, oh, the ceiling is very low here, or this is very high off a busy street, or whatever, that you learn something more about the building and the circumstances in which people like Zora Neale Hurston live.
Yes, and there are two porches. There's a porch on the first floor and a porch on the top floor, with rocking chairs.
Yes.
And I just love that element of being able to be up on one of those porches and looking out at the street and think, you know, my mind at least, of course, goes to, is this what she was looking at?
Exactly.
Was she looking at this when she was trying to finish up her autobiography? And so for this to be happening in West Augustine, which is one of the poorer neighborhoods in St. Johns County, what do you think this will do to West Augustine? Because this is just an element of a broader picture that's really transforming that community.
Just at the old school where she taught, the former campus grounds have been selected to be the site of the state of Florida's Black History Museum. And then diagonally across from that, they just moved the Martin Luther King Beach House that had been out on Anastasia Island and was threatened with demolition. And now it's located at Collier Blocker Park. So you have three very important sites connected there. You know, I could see giving historic tours of West Augustine and start at the museum there and go by the Martin Luther King Beach House and the Zora Neale Hurston House. And then there are a lot of other sites in the neighborhood that are marked with Freedom Trail markers from the Civil Rights Movement. So I think this adds a whole new element of, you know, people get tired of the old St. Augustine history. Ponce de Leon this, Pedro Menendez that.
Colonial time
there are
period.
other things that have happened there, and more people have heard of Martin Luther King than have heard of Pedro Menendez.
Well, that's true, right? Yeah, absolutely. David, I can tell that you are excited about this.
I am.
And it doesn't always happen this way with buildings, and so especially historic ones.
Yes.
This is a happy ending for this historic building.
It is.
Yeah, okay, all right. Zora Neale Hurston stayed in this house in 1942, and up next we are going to talk with the couple who said, we cannot let this go. We are going to save it. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. We are talking about Zora Neale Hurston, the famous author from here in Florida, and also the house where she stayed for just a little bit of time, but made famous in St. Augustine. And Lavardis and Dwala Anderson join us now. This is the couple who decided to buy her house after all these years and save it. Absolutely. And so thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell me, Lavardis, your name, your face was on the for sale sign 2 years ago, right outside of the house. And so you had been selected by the family because the woman who lived in the house, Miss Pascoe, had passed away, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And you had been told by the family a certain dictate, and that was what?
Well, back then I came in as the co-listing agent.
Co-listing agent.
Yes, and when I came in, I realized that they was going through some probate issues.
Okay.
And they said, hey, you know, we've heard that you've been in the real estate industry for quite some time. And if I can go ahead and just use some of my connections to help guide them through the probate process.
I see, I see.
And that's how I originally got involved.
Okay, but they did not want the house to be torn down, is that right?
Absolutely not. You know, so we had a few conversations. They said, depending on the buyer that's coming in, please make sure that they're not going to tear down the home.
How do you do that?
Absolutely. So what I explained to them, I said, you know what, you being the owner of the property, you know, you can dictate what you want.
Okay.
And they listened. They said, hey, just make sure that when the buyers come through or inquire about the property, make sure you ask them what's their exit strategy or what they intend on doing with the property.
Okay.
And there was some of the questions, key qualifying questions I had to ask them.
Okay.
And we had buyers come in across the country, and I would ask them, just, you know, per the seller request, what are you guys planning on doing with the property? The vast majority of the people that came in there wanted to either tear it down because they need too much work, and or like investors, they just wanted, you know, have an investment property, and they're not worried about anything. It's, at the end of the day, it's about that bottom line.
Yeah. Did they
What's my
know,
return on my investment?
Did they know about the Zora Neale Hurston connection, that she had stayed
Well,
there?
actually, you know, I would meet them at the property, and I would take them out by the sign. And I would explain to them, you know, like, hey, this is a very, very unique situation. You just can't come in here and just treat it just like any other building, that you're going to tear it down and wipe out the history. I can tell you right now, the seller is not going to go for it.
Okay.
You know, so this is what they want. And a lot of them say, hey, you know what, it's not even worth my time.
I see, yes, because it was in bad shape.
Oh.
Yeah.
Even for me, with my experience, when I first got involved, I was like, okay, I went in and out of that property. And even with my years of experience being in the real estate industry, I flipped a lot of properties, I renovated a lot of properties. I knew it was going to be a challenge. And actually, I was willing to team up with some of the other potential buyers to bring on my experience along with theirs to come together. And it's either it was their way or no way at all. I said, hey, I can help you get through this, because let's face it, I spent so much time going in and out of that building.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around, I'm looking around, I'm looking around. I'm like, you know what? I went back to the sellers. I said, hey, what if we can honor your wishes, give you what you're looking for to get out of the property, and we can make it and turn it into a cultural resource center. And they was like, if you can do that, you have a deal.
Really?
And then I went back home to my wife.
And then you went to the wife. Okay, and this is Dwala. And Dwala, so he tells you, guess what, honey? I'm going to buy this rundown house that doesn't have a floor.
Yes.
And what'd you say?
My first thought was, are you serious? Based on what he had told me going in and out with the potential buyers, the house was in really bad shape.
Yeah.
Holes in the floor, foundations not in place, bulging out walls. So I'm like, this is gonna be a massive project. And didn't really know we were equipped for it at the time, but my husband came to me with this vision. So I'm like, you know what? We're going to take this leap, and I'm going to support this vision. And let's see if we can make it happen.
Okay, so then so it was a leap of faith.
It was,
because you had to have two things going for you. Maybe three things. You had to have enough money to pay for it. You had to have the know-how to restore it, and you had to have the passion for the history of it. And you guys do.
Absolutely. It was a challenge, even for me, because I did a lot of it myself, along with some family and friends.
Okay.
So when I would go in there, I spent so much time in there. A lot of people don't know this. I was over there like 12 to 16-hour days.
Oh my.
Physically doing the work and doing the layout and the design.
And you can see we're showing video right now.
Okay.
I mean, that was, well, a mess.
That looked pretty good, actually.
that was cleaned up there.
That was cleaned up, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
so you really put in a lot of your own time.
Time, money, you name it, and it meant so much to me because, I grew up in the area and over in the historic Lincolnville, the transition to West Augustine, Hastings, so I saw a lot of this growing up, and during the early 2000s, late 1990s, when Lincolnville was going through that transition phase, and a lot of investors was coming in there picking up the properties. And I was like, it's no way I can just sit back to allow this piece of history, this hidden gem, to be torn down. And that's why I said, hey, let's make the sacrifice, because it's not just about us. It's about preserving this history within this community and showing that it can be done, especially with the husband and wife team.
Well, it's rare, I would say, to not have a foundation come in, to not have a nonprofit, to not have an organization go ahead and foot the bill and get the experts and all that. I mean, it was really the two of you. And then you all used, Wally, didn't you use just some people who were in the neighborhood and some community members who had some skills and talents to work on the building?
Yes, so we kind of tried to get people that had their license in whatever trades we were needing on the building at the time. So we tried to reach out to that first to see if we could get them to get jobs. And then kind of get the building finished. So we did try to use most people in the community for that, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so were you going to say something?
Yes, actually, to piggyback off what my wife was talking about, that's what I believe about community building. You have to start from within, right? And when I was growing up, I used to see a lot of different neighbors would just come together, pitch in, and say, hey, do you need help? And then that person would come over, and then when that other person needed help, they would go over there and help them. And I saw the same thing. I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and reach out to our community first. Whoever had the proper licenses. And even if they did not, I gave them an opportunity to work on this building with us. In a collective effort. And then if I wasn't able, for some reason, wasn't able to find someone within the community, that's when I reached outside of our community to bring someone in to help assist us.
So it is beautiful now. You have done a fantastic job. Let's talk about the downstairs. It's a museum and it's a work in progress, right? So tell me about this museum, Dwala.
So the museum is going to be a tribute to Zora Neale Hurston's time in St. Augustine, because that's a piece of her history that's missing in a lot of books or any type of history that you research on her. That little piece is missing. So we want to be able to bridge that gap and fill that piece in, that she did reside in St. Augustine, she did reside in this home, and tell that story. In addition to Zora's time in St. Augustine, we also want to highlight some of the key figures in our community that were part of, different movements or things like that, just to highlight that history, get that paperwork out of their garage, out of their underneath their bed, preserve it, show it, just kind of just highlight that history that's still there within the community leaders.
You're asking people to bring forth items that may share the story of St. Augustine, probably West Augustine, maybe
everywhere. Lincolnville, West Augustine, North City, Hastings, the surrounding areas. Bring it, even though we're not, you know, the new African American museum that's, you know, that's coming to our area down the street from our building.
Yes.
At least this can be a little bit more intimate.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Because that'll be the state's
Exactly,
museum.
exactly.
This
This is
sounds like
privately
more of
owned.
St. Augustine.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And you have already beautiful pieces of Zora's history in St. Augustine, like her, what is it, her wedding? Her marriage
license.
certificate?
A marriage license.
Yes.
Mr. David Nolan, we got to give him homage. Like, if it wasn't because of him coming to St. Augustine and finding that marriage license, I'm not sure exactly what would be today.
And so that was the historian we just talked to.
Yes.
And then you have paintings, you have photographs that depict her time, and it sounds like you're collecting more
Correct.
and more, along with books, because I think you're trying to get all the books she's ever written.
are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the
We're
mission.
we're very close to completing the collection. Got
Okay.
more to go. So.
And books about her as well as
Yes.
other people in St. Augustine who
Yes.
have been a part of the civil rights movement,
Correct.
Yes.
or art and history
Yes.
in the African American community in St. Augustine. Let's talk about the upstairs, because this
Okay.
part blew me away.
Okay.
After seeing the video and the pictures of the upstairs and how bad it was up there, I mean, dark.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the windows. They must not have been
No, it
letting
wasn't.
any light in. But now you've made it into 4 suites.
Yes.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, you want to start or want me to?
Well, upstairs originally was set up as a dormitory that was used for the students at Florida Normal College. So
Okay.
it's like 8 or 9 little small rooms, and then it had a kitchen, a common area, and 1 bathroom. So as you said, it was very dark when we first got in there. The windows were boarded, like there
Okay.
was, you could fall through the floor at any given moment. So my husband sat at home one day and he said, I could do this upstairs, and he drew it on a piece of paper.
This vision of
This
what the
vision
upstairs.
of what the upstairs could look like, and we actually brought that vision to life.
Wow. Okay.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and frame
That little piece of
that
paper.
little piece of paper that I drew out, handwritten, and I went out and did all the measurements and so forth, and that's what you see today.
Okay, so 4 suites, each has their own bathroom. You have one called the Zora Suite.
Yes.
It's a little bit bigger than the others. Yeah,
Just a smidgen.
little bit.
Yes.
And then, of course, the balconies that I love on both floors.
Yes.
And I want to show this window here because for me, when I was up there, I thought, I can see Zora just sitting down. I don't know if she typed or if she hand wrote, but writing or going over her manuscript and sitting in one of those rooms. And when I told you that, you said you had the same feeling.
Well, if people would pay attention when you're in and out of the old homes, they actually, the spirit, it will actually talk to you.
Oh.
And when I designed that particular, the upstairs, I will actually ask the home, like, what can I do to bring you back to life?
Oh, my.
And it came to my vision. I'm like, I just started went up with my tape measure, started measuring things out. And I said, what would Zora do? What would some of the other previous tenants that lived inside the home? And I try to put myself in their shoes. And that's where it came from, just like you.
Okay.
And when I asked you guys the question the other day, like, which room do you think Zora actually stayed in to make the revision to our memoir, Just Tracks on the Road? And we all came to the same conclusion.
Be that front one.
One of the
ones.
2 rooms towards the front of the
Because
street.
you make a good point. You
Yes.
don't know which room
No.
she
Correct.
stayed in.
No.
Yeah, yeah. And
Now-
she was only there for a short period of time while she was teaching at a university down the street.
That's correct.
And so you don't know, but you know she was there.
Yes.
And you know what areas she had to have been in the kitchen.
The hallway, first and foremost, when you open the door, that hallway is the exact same size.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
original hallway.
It's the footprint, same
Yeah, that's the
footprint.
footprint.
Okay.
And I kept everything the same as much as possible.
Oh,
So when you're
fantastic.
actually walking down that hall, you're actually walking down the same hall that Zora Neale Hurston walked down
So
as well.
these are short-term rentals that people can come in and get the room, or if they want to, get the whole upstairs.
Absolutely.
When does it come on the market?
Well, we're looking to do it sometime this month, actually.
Okay, so
We're-
sometime in
we're-
October.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We're all set, ready to go. There's a couple other things that I would like to do, but you're going to be the first one to know about it. You can go to our website. You know, we have a link on our website where you can book a stay. You'll be able to do it on Airbnb. So you'll be able to book a room.
Lavardis and Dwala Anderson, who have seen history that was in a rocky spot, and you've saved it. the Zora Neale Hurston House of St. Augustine. Thank you so much for
you.
doing
Well,
that.
thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. We'll continue doing more of these. Bye-bye.